I wanted to give a quick reading update on A Court of Mist and Fury. I am on page 103, which is like, so I've just started chapter 10. Thoughts so far? Okay, don't really know where to begin. I currently have some mixed feelings about it, mostly towards Feyre. Like, I understand, like, I'm very frustrated, but I understand her motives for acting the way she's currently acting, kind of just going along with being Tamlin's like savior, like the savior, and like Tamlin's like passive wife to be. She's going along with it to keep him happy, to make him happy, and all that, you know, give the illusion that there's no danger, there's no trouble, like she's gotten rid of it all now that she's defeated Amarantha and all that jazz. And I was finding that very frustrating, but again, I understood it, I understand. But then she spent her first week with Rysand in the Night Court, and he's obviously kind of gone, you know, you're not some just subject that just sits there and does nothing. Like, you're so much more than that, and you know it, so start acting like it. I just read the bit at the end of chapter 9 when Tamlin gives Feyre the portable box of paints and stuff, and she like opens up to him about how she's been feeling, about feeling trapped and all that jazz. That scene was probably the first moment in this book so far where like my heart rate increased. And I was like, a little bit speechless with what happened, because I just was not expecting his reaction to be like that. So it's taking me, like I said, probably the first 100 pages to kind of get into this book, and I've kind of felt, it's not that the writing's lacking per se, I don't know, I think I'm comparing my reading experience with the Six of Crows duology, because I just read that to this, and at the moment I'm definitely preferring Leigh Bardugo's way of writing. However, if the rest of the book goes the way, or is written the way that Sarah J. Maas just wrote that scene, then I will enjoy this book thoroughly. At the moment I feel like her writing can be a little bit cliche, but you know, I am seeing moments of promise that, you know, there's more grit and depth to her writing, and I hope that does show more within this book, because I've got a long way to go still. So promising so far, and that scene at the end of chapter 9 / beginning of chapter 10, very, very good. Honestly, the choice to stay in today and just read and not leave the house was the correct choice to make. It is disgustingly hot outside. It is nasty, and the fact that I have to go to work tomorrow and work in this heat, like, I'm getting hot thinking about it. But I just wanted to give a super quick update on A Court of Mist and Fury. I literally have just read another 100 pages, and I just wanted to quickly touch on something that I am quite impressed by. So obviously at the end of A Court of Thorns and Roses, Feyre goes through some pretty traumatic stuff. She is literally imprisoned, tortured, forced to do these horrendous trials to fight for her life in humiliating circumstances. Like, she's literally used as entertainment for Amarantha and the people under the mountain, fae, whatever, that reside under the mountain. She is literally just straight up tortured in horrendous ways for entertainment. And then at the end of it all, she literally gets her neck snapped. So yeah, what Feyre goes through at the end of acotar is not something you can just get over, right? And I feel like it would have been very easy for Sarah J. Maas to just kind of skip over that very extremely traumatic experience and kind of just go, no, like, Feyre is now this strong, independent warrior fae that can like conquer anybody because she's been through this really traumatic time, but it's only made her stronger, blah blah blah. Sarah J. Maas has not done that at all. She has not shied away from the fact that Feyre has gone through traumatic, scarring events, and that stuff is still following her in her new life. And Sarah J. Maas has not shied away from that. She's really kind of gone, look, people go through traumatic times and you don't just get over them overnight. Yes, going through traumatic experience can make you stronger, but that doesn't make the events, it doesn't make it any less scarring. Feyre very much is still struggling with what she went through under the mountain, and I really appreciate Sarah J. Maas not shying away from that, because I think that is much more realistic of when it comes to people dealing with trauma. Yeah, that is something that I am appreciative when reading A Court of Mist and Fury, and it's definitely picked up in the next 100 pages, and I'm very much enjoying it. Much like A Court of Thorns and Roses, I'm very much struggling to kind of put it down, which is very, very nice. Yeah, we've met some new characters that I'm looking forward to learning about a lot more as the book progresses. We're seeing a lot more of Prythian, we're getting introduced to a lot more areas. At the moment, I've still only really seen the Spring Court, the Night Court, Valaris. I'm hoping we'll get to see more of the other courts as the series progresses, and I'm sure we will. And I'm sure we're going to hear more about Highburn and the mainland and all that jazz. But yeah, I just thought I'd give a quick update. That's how far I am. There's still so much to go, but I'm enjoying it. I'm liking the pace. I'm liking that the pace has picked up. I'm on chapter 19, and I just read the encounter with the bone carver. So Feyre and Rysand, is it Rysand? That's how I've been saying it in my head. But Feyre and Rysand have gone to the prison to meet the bone carver to learn information about the cauldron and the King of Highburn, and yeah, it's picked up, it's good. I'm enjoying it, and I will probably go now and read some more because I'm not going to do anything else in this heat. So yeah. Hello my loves, I thought I would give a super quick update on A Court of Mist and Fury. I am now over halfway. I am on chapter 40, which is page 382. I don't really know how to articulate how I feel about this book so far. I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. I think I had quite high expectations for this book for this series in general from how much love it has received, but I just don't think I'm getting out of it as much as what other people have gotten out of it. It's not giving me the excitement and the feels that the Six of Crows duology gave me. Like, that duology, the feelings and experience I got from reading those books is what I want, is what I crave when I read a fantasy, and I'm just not really getting that from this book. Yeah, I'm enjoying it, but for example, when you read a book, you want to... I've got cat hair all over me. You want to like the main character. And it's not that I don't like Feyre, she's just not my favourite. And I just don't know if I'm overly invested in her as a character. Which sucks, because obviously the book's about her, like she is the main character. I don't know. The more I read, it's weird, like I do find myself thinking about the book and wanting to continue to read it, but then at the same time I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to continue with this series or not. I've invested a lot of time into this book. I do plan on finishing this, but it's another hot one today, guys. It's another humid, sticky day, so excuse the no makeup, shiny redness. It is what it is. But I wanted to give my final thoughts and opinions on A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I finished it. It's done. I did it. It took me pretty much the month of July to read this book. I haven't read anything else, so consider this also my July wrap up. So I finished this yesterday. I finished this on the 1st of August. Today's the 2nd. I finished it yesterday and I have thoughts and feelings that I would like to share with you. Let's start off with the rating. I am rating this... I'm torn between giving it 3.75 out of 5 stars or 4 out of 5 stars. I definitely enjoyed this more than A Court of Thorns and Roses, but I just don't know if I enjoyed it enough to give it a solid 4 out of 5 stars. That's why I'm kind of leaning towards the 3.75. I'm pretty sure I gave A Court of Thorns and Roses either 3 out of 5 or 3.5 out of 5. I can't quite remember. With A Court of Thorns and Roses, I wrote down like my thoughts and feelings of like the plot and the characters and all that jazz. I haven't done that this time around. I'm literally just kind of going to give you my thoughts and feelings as I think of them in my head. How do I feel about the characters? I feel mixed about the characters. Feyre as our main gal, there are moments where I really enjoy her as our main character and I'm really invested in her story and her plotline, and then there are other moments when I am really not and I could really do without her thoughts and opinions and perspective on things. I don't know why, I feel like with the characters, I feel like I'm only seeing their surface. Like, there are moments where I do kind of feel like I get a more in-depth look into them and I do feel a deeper connection with them, but then there are other moments where I feel they are very surface level and I could really do with some more depth. That being said, I do feel like this is a character-driven story. I do feel like characters take priority over plot. That's not saying that the plot isn't there. The plot is definitely there, and I did really enjoy the direction this book took and where the plot is taking us for the rest of the series. There were moments where, like, I feel like this book doesn't need to be this big. The majority of this book is necessary. Like, I don't think there are loads of unnecessary moments per se, but there were definitely moments when I was losing interest in the story and in the plot because it just wasn't taking me in the direction that I wanted it to. Probably when I was around maybe reading this section of the book, that's like a rough, maybe this, when I was reading this section of the book, I was feeling very much like, I don't know if I'm going to continue with this series. I don't know if I'm as invested in it as I would like to be. Yeah, I very much did see myself kind of DNFing the series as a whole. Even though I am really enjoying it, I kind of just felt like I've heard that this is the best book in the series, and if that's the case, if it's only kind of going to go downhill from here, like, I don't really want to invest my time and money in it. However, one thing that Sarah J. Maas does know how to do is she knows how to end a book. The last 100 pages, I would say, has convinced me to now pick up the next book in the series 100%, because now I want to know, I need to know where the story is going to continue. And the last 100 pages of this book just completely took me by surprise. I was not expecting it whatsoever, and it just left me like, you know when you finish a book and you just feel a little bit empty inside? That's how I felt, and I really wasn't expecting that, considering with how I was feeling while reading the book before the last 100 pages. Probably like the 100 pages before the 100 pages of the end, if that makes sense. I was definitely considering just DNFing the series, but then the last 100 pages just pulled me straight back in, and I am now fully reinvested in this storyline and where it's going to take me. I feel like with Sarah J. Maas's writing style, I feel like she has so much potential, because I can see that in moments in her writing within her books. But then a lot of the time I feel like she falls flat and falls very cliche, and that ruins it for me. I feel like she could take her writing in such a wonderful direction, and it's as if she is so focused on reaching a wider audience, probably maybe a younger audience. Maybe that's where it's falling short, because she's trying to reach that YA audience. She's not allowing herself to fully explore and let loose her writing style and creativity, because there are moments when in this book she can write some really well detailed scenes that leave me in awe, and then there are other moments, unfortunately more often than not, where I feel like it's cliche, I've read it before, and I'm kind of just left there being like, okay, yeah, it's good, but I've seen this before. So I don't know if in her more recent works she explores her writing style a bit more and she allows herself that fluidity and freedom, and that's something I'm hoping I will discover as I read the series and more of her work. I'm trying to think what else I would like to say. Characters in this book, I do love them. I am very much invested. I do understand and see the found family aspect in this book, and I can see why people love it so much. Personally, it is a good found family trope that's been introduced in this book. However, I feel like there is still something lacking there. Comparing it to the found family in the Six of Crows duology, to me there's no comparison. Like the found family in the Six of Crows duology, it's just perfection. Yeah, I just feel like the found family in this book, I don't know, I feel like 1 minute it was there and then the next they're a family. Like I feel like there wasn't a lot of building and getting to know the relationship between Feyre and the other characters. I just feel like it kind of just happened and we were just supposed to just accept it. Like Feyre is with these characters, so they're gonna bond. Like there wasn't, I don't know, I feel like there's just depth missing there. I feel like there's depth missing there. I love the relationship that grew between Feyre and Rysand. I thought that slow burn and that development of and growth of the relationship I thought was really well done. I did really love seeing their relationship develop and grow from basically enemies to lovers, essentially. That is something I did really enjoy and that I thought was done very well. Yeah, the side characters I really like. I'm hoping to see more of them in, well, I know I'll see more of them in the rest of the series. I feel like we got to see a bit more of them nearer the second half of the book. That A Court of Frost and Starlight, if I am remembering this correctly, I think that book is revolved around Nesta, which is Feyre's sister, and Cassian. I don't know. I purposely haven't like researched the rest of the series because I like it to be a bit of like a surprise. Like I don't really like to have a big idea of what's going to happen, so I purposely haven't looked into it, but I'm pretty sure that book is based on Nesta, which if that's the case, I know a lot of people don't like her, but I do. I quite like Nesta as a character. I think she is feisty and aggressive, and even though it comes across as cold, like she has good intentions, and I don't know, I'm a bit of a sucker for that kind of character. I think I'm discovering that. I'm looking forward to reading. But yeah, just the last 100 pages of this book convinced me, saved it for me. The last 100 pages of this book saved it and is what's convinced me to go pick up the rest of the series. Definitely. And okay, I do just want to quickly talk about Tamlin and Lucian. Okay, I do want to quickly touch on them because what okay, so for a lot of this book we don't really see Lucian and Tamlin. We lose them after 100-200 pages into the book. I am so ready to see their character development in the next book. The way that Sarah J. Maas literally turned our viewpoint on these two characters from being the heroes to essentially the villains. What? So seeing their character arc, I am very much intrigued by, especially with what happened with Lucian at the end, and you know, because they're not bad. They're not bad people, Faye. They've just got, it's I don't know how to put it into words. They're grey characters. They've got grey morals, but I want to see how that develops going forward. And I've seen the size of the next two books in this series. They are beefy, they are chunky books. So there's a lot of opportunity there for those characters to be worked on. Excuse the sudden change if there's any change in angle or anything, but I was starting to ramble, so I now just want to wrap up this vlog. And I thought I would do that with showing you what I plan to move on to reading next. Oh my gosh, I look crazy. So the book that I picked up this morning and have become quite obsessed with is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I'm very sorry if I'm butchering your surname, sir. I have read the first part of this book and I have never needed a book more in my entire life. I am definitely a believer in things happening at the right time and receiving messages at the right time, and even though I bought this book a little while ago, I definitely think I wasn't ready to read it and receive the messages that it presents and delivers until now. I have only ever written in or like highlighted one book, and that was Of Mice and Men, because I needed to annotate it for my English GCSE. I have been so taken aback and moved by the messages I've received from this book. I have been, I don't know if you can see, highlighting and just like pointing out passages that have just spoken to me and moved me, and I'm not even 100 pages in. I'm like 50 pages into this book. I don't really have words right now for how I feel for this book, apart from that it is speaking to me, and this has definitely fallen into my lap at the exact moment that I needed it. So that's what I picked up this morning. But I also then, I am on such a fantasy high right now. However, okay, let me expand quickly. So if you watched my previous reading wrap-up video, then you would have seen that I have picked up the Shadow and Bone trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. I have every intention of binge reading this trilogy, but I am so afraid of starting this trilogy because I loved Six of Crows duology so much. In the last two videos, all I've really spoken about is how much I love that duology. So if you don't understand how much I love that duology by now, I don't know what else I can say to convince you to read that duology. But obviously Shadow and Bone, I'm pretty sure Shadow and Bone was written before Six of Crows, I'm pretty sure. And I know this is a very loved trilogy. I don't know, you know when something has so much hype around it, and like the Six of Crows was so good, I'm just so afraid that this is gonna just fall flat for me. I'm so afraid. But at the same time, I just miss this. I miss the Grishaverse so much. And these books are like half the size, so I am sure I could get through this trilogy in a week, but I'm just so afraid of starting it. And then yesterday from the works, which is where I picked up the trilogy, I also picked up another trilogy that that has just been absolutely everywhere at the moment. Holly Black's The Folk of the Air trilogy, £15 from the works. Cannot go wrong. I have read I've only ever read one Holly Black book, and that was The Coldest Girl in Cold Town, and I remember really thoroughly enjoying it. I read it a few years ago now, but I just remember like just soaring through that book and being really like inspired by it, because it inspired like a short story I wrote. Yeah, and I've just heard nothing but phenomenal things about this trilogy. So when I saw it in the works for £15, of course I had to pick it up. But again, this is one of those trilogies that I am so afraid to pick up because the hype around it is so big, and I'm so afraid that it's going to disappoint and fall flat for me. Yeah, these are two trilogies that I just really want to read, and I'm having such a fantasy high at the moment that I feel like I would gobble these up, but I'm so scared. I'm so afraid. And then, just to add to my fantasy high, I bit the bullet and I picked up my first ever Brandon Sanderson book, Elantris. I've never read a Brandon Sanderson before, and doing some research into more fantasy books, because I've been on this fantasy high, I've been doing a lot of fantasy book research, came across the so-called legend of Brandon Sanderson that I've never read before, and I was like, okay, I need to get on this train, to the point where I was watching videos of like where it's best to start with his work. And considering Elantris is his first ever novel, you can't really go wrong with starting with an author's first novel as a good starting place. He has written, I believe it's called The Cosmere, which is his own created universe that his books are set in. I am so excited to get into it, but also immensely intimidated because, again, I feel like it's going to be one of these, like, I need to mentally prepare myself for entering this universe, because I know, or I feel like, because he's written a lot, there's quite a few books that I need to get through, and I know that once I step into this universe, I'm hoping I'm going to fall very heavily into it. So this is a standalone book, and I think I'm hoping I will enjoy this book, and if I do enjoy his writing, I'll probably then move on to the Mistborn series, which I know has been extremely highly praised. Well, all of his work has been highly praised, but point is, I'm currently on a very big fantasy high, and because I'm on such a fantasy high, I'm so afraid of that high being ripped away from me. So while I do want to stay in my fantasy high, I think it's important to try and make it last for as long as possible. So that being said, after that ramble, I think I might try and give Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen a go. I really want to read this book in the summer before autumn kicks in, because I feel like I have a lot of books in my backlog that would be perfect for the autumnal season that I really want to get through. I just feel like reading Pride and Prejudice in the summer is kind of the best setting for it. So I think this is the next book I'm going to move on to. I'm really hoping it's not going to put me into a slump, because I am on such a roll right now with my reading and my enjoyment of reading that I'm hoping my decision to take a step back from fantasy isn't going to ruin that. And I'm hoping this being a classic isn't also going to put me into a slump, because that has happened before with me and classics previously. So yeah, this is what I'm going to move on to next. I see me finishing this today. I honestly think I might just spend the day kind of soaking in this book. But these are the next two books that I plan on reading, or, you know, I'm currently reading. We will see. I'm very much a mood reader, so if Pride and Prejudice isn't for me, I will probably then turn to either Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, the Shadow and Bone trilogy by Leigh Bardugo, or the Folk of the Air trilogy by Holly Black. Another thing that really drew me to this is Leigh Bardugo reviewed it. So clearly if she thinks it's worth reading, it's gotta be good. Before maybe jumping into Elantris and Brandon Sanderson, which I know will be quite an intense experience, maybe I'll jump back into my fantasy reading with one of these, because they are shorter, they're YA, so they should be easier to read, where Brandon Sanderson, I believe he's adult. Thank you so much for watching today's reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to continuing the acotar series when I eventually get around to buying the next book. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if you have read the acotar series, and if so, if you enjoyed it, if you have any recommendations based off of it, if you recommend or have read any of the books that I plan on reading next, let me know. I will love you and leave you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!